While undercover in the Bonanno Crime Family, did FBI agent Joe Pistone ever try to get a mobster killed? Let's check it out. I'm James Gladwish and welcome to OC Shorts, bringing you detailed historical snapshots of the American Mafia and other organised crime. Feel free to subscribe if you like that sort of thing. Today, we are going to take a quick look at whether undercover FBI agent Joe Pistone tried to get a made man murdered. In 1982, a year after FBI agent Joseph Pistone had finished his undercover infiltration of the American Mafia using the alias Donnie Brasco, he found himself being accused by defense attorney Robert Koperman of trying to get a made man in the Bonanno family murdered. As one newspaper reported, FBI undercover agent Donnie Brasco testified yesterday that he told a Bonanno Crime Family leader to kill a rival mobster despite FBI guidelines that bar agents from encouraging or participating in crimes. Under cross-examination by defense lawyer Robert Koperman, agent Joseph Pistone, who used the Brasco alias to infiltrate the Bonanno mob for 6 years, said he suggested to Benjamin Lefty Ruggiero that reputed gangster Anthony Mirra be killed. Anthony Mirra was a vicious Bonanno family soldier who was one of the first mobsters to bring Donnie Brasco around the Bonanno crime family. During Joe Pistone's undercover operation, Anthony Mirra would go to prison for a period of time, and Pistone was able to distance himself from the unpredictable Mirra, and Pistone would then grow close to Dominic Sonny Black Napolitano and Benjamin Lefty Ruggiero. Pistone eventually becoming a formal associate for Lefty Ruggiero. When Anthony Mirra was released from prison, he was displeased that Pistone was now with Ruggiero and Napolitano and raised a complaint claiming that Donnie Brasco should be his associate and not Lefty Ruggiero's. A sit-down was held and Mirra lost. Following this, Anthony Mirra then lodged another formal complaint to the Bonanno family hierarchy, claiming that Donnie Brasco had stolen money from a drug deal that the pair had been involved in. Joe Pistone would later recall in one of his books, "After Lefty and Sonny won me, Mirra made another formal claim. This time he claimed that I'd stolen $250,000 in a drug deal a few years back. The obvious question was why didn't he bring it up at the time? It was not like Mirra to let 250 pennies slip through his fingers without pulling his knife. Still, the punishment for stealing anything, much less $250,000, is death. We had to go through another round of sit-downs to expose it as a trumped-up charge. All the while, Lefty and Sonny, without realizing it, were exposing themselves to death as my champions." And so, after Anthony Mirra had made his allegation against Joe Pistone, aka Donnie Brasco, the undercover agent was speaking with Lefty Ruggiero about the situation, and Pistone suggested that it might be worth just killing Anthony Mirra. One newspaper reported how the conversation between Pistone and Ruggiero went. It reads, "In a transcript of a March 26, 1981 conversation between Ruggiero and Pistone, Pistone said, 'Why don't we just kill Mirra? That's all. Get it out of the way.' 'No, no, no,' Ruggiero said. 'I don't do that to my friends.'" As you can imagine, it is against FBI rules for one of their undercover agents to be complicit in a murder plot. However, when quizzed in court in 1982, FBI agent Joe Pistone stated that he was just trying to gain credibility in the underworld with his suggestion of murdering Anthony Mirra. As one newspaper reported, Koperman, who represents Ruggiero, indicated that Pistone wanted Mirra slain because Mirra was spreading the word that Pistone split $250,000 on a drug deal with another man. Pistone denied the charge. Koperman: "Isn't it a fact that you tried to encourage Lefty Ruggiero to kill a man named Anthony Mirra?" Pistone: "No, sir, I did not." Koperman: "Didn't you say, why don't you just kill Anthony Mirra?" Pistone: yes, I did, in my role as an undercover agent to gain credibility with Lefty Ruggiero. Pistone said he knew Ruggiero would not kill Mirra on my encouragement. He said it was coincidence that he suggested killing the man who allegedly was spreading rumours that he had made money on the drug deal. It never occurred to me to make any illegal money in my undercover activities, Pistone said. I never thought of doing anything illegal. Defense attorney Robert Kopelman then pressed Joe Pistone further about his conduct as an undercover agent. As one newspaper reported, "Remember, you didn't let it drop," Kopelman added. "You said, that's what he's trying to do to us." Kopelman added that, by encouraging a murder, Pistone had violated one of the FBI's basic guidelines for operation set by the US Attorney General, and Kopelman charged that Pistone's suggestion was not all talk. Under later questioning, Pistone said that the guidelines state that agents should not participate in any illegal activities, and that if they become aware that a crime is to take place, they must try to prevent it, or pass information on to other agents. Anthony Mirra would ultimately be murdered in early 1982. However, it wasn't because Joe Pistone had requested his death, as I've covered in a previous video. In his books and interviews since, former FBI agent Joseph Pistone would often discuss how tricky it can be for undercover agents to follow the FBI guidelines about not committing crimes. Pistone would write, "As an undercover agent, you try not to break the law, but as I said, I had to fit in and stay in character in order to stay alive. There are only so many times you can bring in gold watches and precious stones and claim you stole them. You're going to have to be a team player, leave the social club, and go out in the street with your fellow teammates. You have to cut off whatever personal feelings you have about crime and crime victims, the feelings that drew you to law enforcement in the first place. And you have to justify your actions by rationalizing that as long as you're there at a hijacking with men with guns on them, at least you're in a position to prevent violence to innocent victims." Interestingly, Joseph Pistone would tell one story regarding how he delivered a vicious beating to two individuals who had robbed him and Benjamin Lefty Ruggiero at gunpoint. Pistone would recall, "Anyway, Lefty had gotten the names and the hangout of the two robbers. I was relieved that he had moved off of wanting them dead, as all he said was, 'Go solo, teach them fucks a lesson both. Get as much of the money you can back.' It was in the middle of the afternoon. I hoped for their sake I would find them because, if I couldn't find them, Lefty might send somebody else who would find them and kill them. Plus, let's face it, I was pissed off. First, they robbed me. Second, they put me in this position of having to cross the line into violence. What I was about to do was another one of those things that was very much unauthorized by the Bureau, and that could cause me to need a criminal lawyer. I considered the consequences of telling Lefty they weren't there as I approached, but there they were. The two morons were out in broad daylight, standing in front of their hangout. There was a strong grapevine in Little Italy. At that instant, I could bank on that grapevine. Lefty would hear every detail of what happened, even before I could report it to him. They were my height, about 6 feet tall, but at 185 I had 30 pounds on each of them. They were junky skinny. I walked up to one and boom, I let him have an overhand right. He hit the pavement as if I'd had a roll of dimes in my right fist. No comment. The other one's eyes popped open when he recognized me. "You stay put," I said. "I'll get you next. Don't even think about running. You're in no shape to outrun me. And it'll only go worse for you." I looked down at the kid on the ground and realized he was out cold. And so I sprung suddenly and hauled off an overhand right on the other one, and he went down. I put the roll of dimes in my pocket and went through their pockets. I got a few hundred, but they had already shot up the lion's share of the money they got from us. Getting the money back was not the point anyway. It was all about the satisfaction to know they didn't get over on you and get away with it. What I did next, I did for each kid's own good. I knew I had to throw them both a good beating, or they could still get whacked. You don't put a gun into the back of a made man like Lefty Ruggiero and expect to live. I know this much. The two junkie armed robbers didn't get up on their own and walk away from that sidewalk. From the kidney blows, they bled piss for weeks. And until the breaks healed, they had no use of their fingers for such things as shooting a gun. The whole thing took less than 3 minutes. In the comments below, let me know your thoughts on whether undercover agents should be allowed to commit criminal acts of violence whilst trying to maintain their cover and build a case against murderous mobsters. I hope you found that interesting. Thanks for watching.